The Wiregrass Museum of Art created the intergenerational learning project to give students like me the opportunity to learn from those in other generations. All of the people interviewed have one thing in common. They have risen above hardships and now have an informed and wise outlook on the past and our future. With each interview, we were presented with an opportunity to learn more about our world, our culture, and our local history. Now we present our conversations with you.
My name is Debbie Mann, and I live in Tallahassee, Florida. Originally born in New York City, Queens, and did military service. I was proud to serve. So I'm 17, and my mom and dad had to sign for me. And 18 is your legal age to be an adult. So my mom and dad were arguing about signing the papers. And I told them, I said, if they didn't sign the papers to let me join the military, that was fine. I was just never going to talk to them again as long as I lived. They were never going to see their grandchildren. At 18, I was going to join without their permission. I didn't need their permission because I was a legal adult. And my mom was like, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't break your mother's heart that way. And I said, yeah, I would. And my dad looked and, yeah, she would. So we're going to talk about it. So they went in the back bedroom. And of course, I could hear everything. And of course, I wasn't very far from the back bedroom intentionally. I positioned myself. And they were arguing about how safe it was. You know, my dad's a World War II veteran. So he was worried about me. And my mom was like, she could get shot. No, they don't put women in the front line. She's not going to go to the front line. And he's like, what war is she going to? Nam is over. You know, we're not going to have another war. Not a war that she's going to be going into. And she doesn't realize how hard the military is. She's going to cry. She's going to come back. She's going to say, I couldn't do it. And you were right. And so they signed the paperwork. And when I graduated, and it was hard. It was what he said. It was hard. I hadn't even known how to do a push-up. So it was very hard. And I am from the North, and I went to basic training in Fort McClellan, Alabama. That's as south as you could get now. That's pretty darn south. I mean, this girl knew nothing about grits. And I came back to my parents' house, and I said, I know how to put an M16 together and take it apart in 3 minutes. Less than 3 minutes like you do. And he said, the PT? And I said, yeah. I ended up maxing my PT test. So even though you said to Mom that I wasn't going to make it, that I was going to quit, I'm not a quitter. I'm not a quitter now. And I guarantee you, I will not be a quitter. But I really appreciate your confidence in me thinking that I was just going to run home after 6 weeks. But you're right. That was the hardest thing I have ever done in my life. And my mom looked at me and said, it won't be the hardest. It just is right now. Because I was only 18.
Yeah.
I turned 18 in the military. So, you know, yeah, she was right. But that was the hardest thing up to that point. I volunteered as a candy striper. That might be dating myself too. And we actually wore red and white aprons.
Okay.
That's why they were called candy stripers. And we were volunteers, and we were kids, and we couldn't do anything medical. All we could do is give ice and water and that kind of stuff. So I worked with a nurse by the name of Mrs. Henderson, who also was Black. She influenced me so much, so very much. I worked on the maternity ward, which, you know, was great, seeing babies. I do remember going to deliver a specimen at the lab. And we're not supposed to look at anything. Well, you know, I'm a 17-year-old, 16-year-old kid. Of course I'm gonna look at it. I look in the bucket, and it was a stillborn baby. Like first trimester, you know, and they take it to the lab. You know, and I didn't even think about it. Well, when you have a baby, you have a nice, healthy baby. Yeah. That's what my brain is thinking. I'm a kid. And I was not supposed to look at that. I looked at that, and I couldn't understand what I was looking at, other than I knew it was a baby. I definitely knew that. And so I dropped it off at the lab, and I went back and I started crying, and I told her, you murder people here. And she said, what are you talking about? And I told her what happened, and she said, "You're not supposed to look in that bucket." And I said, "But I did." And she said, "Well, part of life is death." And I said, "No, that's not what's supposed to happen." She said, "A lot of things aren't supposed to happen in life, but they do." Okay, we did not kill the baby. The baby died on its own. It's called a miscarriage. And that's why you're not supposed to be looking in specimen buckets. But she said, it's part of life, you know, and we do a lot to save life here. And nurses and doctors, that's what our job is, to save life, to make life better for people. Doesn't always work. It's not always in our control. And that was kind of the first time somebody sat down with me and we even talked about even control and religion and in that sense. And that was very moving. And I said, "Well, I want to make sure this doesn't happen to other babies." She said, "Well, you could become a nurse and help people, but this is going to happen to other babies. And this is going to happen to people that are young and people that are old and people that are Chinese and people that have polka dots. It's life. It's okay." And she said something that really, I still think about every once in a while. If everyone lived, where would everybody be? And she said it to me. I said, "In New York." And I'm a kid. Like, I'm not thinking very clear. I'm 17. I'm not thinking beyond, my little realm of civilization is not thinking past New York City. Where would everyone be? And I said, "I don't understand." And she said, "I want you to think about that. Because if everyone lived, where would everyone be?" And she said, "It wouldn't be possible. And that's not his intentions." So that gave me food for thought. And so I knew I wanted to join the medical corps. I knew that. I knew I wanted to be a nurse. So in basic training, we had bunk beds, and I slept on the bottom of the bunk, and had a French girl. She actually was born in France and raised in France, but her parents migrated to United States, immigrants. She was in basic training when I was in basic training, and she waited up one night and just kept on staring at me. I'm looking at her like, "Okay, go to bed. We gotta be up in like another 3 hours. What the hell's your problem?" And she said, "Well, I'm waiting." And I said, "What the hell are you waiting for? The sunrise? It's going to happen in another 3 hours, but let's not wait for the sun to get up." She said, "No, I'm waiting. You say you're a Jew." And I said, "Yes, I'm Jewish." And she said, "Well, we all know what happens to Jews." "I don't know what happens to Jews." I was like, "I don't know what happens to us." "Oh, well, the devil comes out. You have your horns." And I'm like, "Excuse me?" And she said, "All good French girls are taught that the Jews are related to the devil, that we grow a tail and horns." So she was waiting for that to happen.
Wow.
And I'm like, "Girlfriend, you're going to wait a long fucking time. It's going to be a long time before that happens. It ain't going to happen." And she said, "But you are a Jew." And I said, "I am Jewish, yes. But that's how I was taught." And I said, "Well, I'm sorry you were taught wrong."
Yeah, she didn't.
But you were definitely taught wrong. And that was just very, very weird. I moved to Florida from Alabama. And we moved to a town called Sneeds. After 3 months living there, my daughter, I was working at the hospital, and my daughter was crying. She called me, and my daughter knows not to call me when I'm on the phone. I mean, I'm at work. She knows better. But she called me to tell me that there was a swastika on our door. And I'm like, great. Got home, and I looked, and I'm like, "Yeah, definitely a swastika." Yep, And she said, why? And I said, because people are just stupid. They are just stupid. There's no rhyme or reason for hate. There's just none. I don't know how to explain it. There is no reason for hate. Hate is just hate. And I said, okay. I guess we're the first Jews sneeze that had, or at least the first Jews that say we're Jews. Because I wear my star. And my kids were not taught to be ashamed of it or hide it. The military has shaped who they are too. From all my experiences, they really have. They when I came back the first time in 2006, you know, I was different, and Catherine was like, and she never wanted to discuss it, but things would come up. I remember I was in Sneed's and she was ready in Tallahassee at that time. She moved here, and it was like 3 a.m. For some reason, I woke up and my garage had like something in the back of it. Well, anyhow, in the middle of the night, to me, it was the hex, which is the wall barrier at our compound. And for some reason, it was a storm or something, but I heard noises that were very similar. So I remember saying, who's there? And I had my broom. I was holding it like that. I was saying, who's there? Nobody was answering. I guess the wind was blowing, and I went to the garage, and I saw open the door in the back of the garage looked exactly like a hex. And so I remember saying, come closer, I'm gonna kill you. And I remember saying stuff like that, cursing. And then all of a sudden it was like, I heard the wind blowing, and then for some reason it was like I snapped. I was like, so I got upstairs and I called Catherine. It was like 2 a.m. She said, Mom, it was just a dream. Go back to bed. I said, no, I was outside. She said, you were outside? Yeah, I was outside. You didn't dream you were outside? No, I was outside. Do you realize there's a storm out there? I said, yeah, I think that's what triggered it, was the storm. And we talked, and we met the next day, and she said, you know, you're never the same. And I said, I'm never gonna be the same. And she said, I don't understand. I said, I don't understand. So how can I explain it to you when I don't understand? Unfortunately, my experiences overseas affects who I am. You learn to live with it, but it still changes the essence of who you are. I just can't explain it. And war is hell. It's just fucking hell. You know, and then I started trying it, and she said, no, I don't want to hear. And she said, you know, I said to her, I can't talk to you, does that mean that it didn't happen? I said, Mom, I just can't handle it. I don't understand how you handle it. I can't handle it. So it is hard to understand. And that's one thing. I'm in military organizations, and I do talk to military people, and we talk about it, and I'm able to, and that's good, because you have to let it out.
Yes.
I believe that, you know, God, you're here because of God's, and that when God says it's time for you to go, he takes you, regardless if it's a hurricane or whatever. And I have to believe that. I was a medic, and that at that point I was a nurse, and I went overseas. I got graduated nursing school, went to National Guard, so I was actually a licensed nurse then. And they knew I was an RN, and they knew I was a psych nurse. So they had me work in the clinic during the daytime, which was fine because I was a medic and no tech. And in the afternoon, I worked in the psych, and I had my own clients. But in the morning, we had an Afghan national come in, and the rules of engagement then, and it's different. It changes every year, every day. That you could treat an Afghan national and their kids under like emergency circumstances, and only once. That was the rule. So we had an Afghan kid. The dad came, the baby, and we had an interpreter help us. And that was an 18-month-old baby. They have open kettles. It's a girl. It's a fucking girl. Who cares? That kid somehow got in that kettle. 2/3 of her body was burned. 3rd-degree burns. And I'm sitting there scrubbing the burns off of her. And we couldn't give her a lot of payment because she was having problems breathing and morphine decreases. Yeah. So we gave her what we could. She's just screaming. And I'll never forget that. And just screaming. And the dad's just looking like, so, and I'm just, and try to keep my cool and pay attention to the baby. So we give her amoxicillin, the bubblegum stuff, reconstitute it, give it to her. And we talked to him, and he said he doesn't have any refrigeration. So, okay, fine. You come to the compound every day, and we'll bring it to you. And he was like, maybe. Fuck, maybe. We're gonna give it to you. I just need you to come to a compound because, I'm not going out there and giving it to you. And he was like, no. She lives, she lives. She dies, she dies. I have sons. What do I need? You motherfucker. I remember reaching over, I wanted to grab his neck really badly, and the sergeant pulled me aside and said, let's go walking. Let's go walking, Debbie. No, I want to kill him. I told him, I remember saying that. I want to kill him. I want to kill him, motherfucker. No, we're not walking anywhere. I want to kill him. You're not going to kill him. Not today. I could accomplish anything. Let's go. So, he never did come back. I go there every day, walk to the front of the compound, say, hey, did, come for the baby? Anybody see the baby? I don't know if that baby's dead or alive. In the United States, that baby would have made it. Not 2006, without that medical help, would not have. Because she needed to breathing again. And we put Silvadine, dressed it. Those dressings need to be done every day. And I told him, I said, you could go to the Afghan hospital. And he said, no time. Just like, I don't know. Wow. So women are second-class citizens. They're still second-class citizens. They have gotten more rights since we have been there in Afghanistan. And that's one of the reasons why they don't want U.S. to pull out, because they have gotten more rights. And they're afraid that it will get back to what it was if the U.S. pulls out. And it will. It will, because it's a mindset. Women have no value. And that doesn't change in one generation. Yeah. That takes generations and generations and generations, if it ever changes, but it doesn't change in one generation. So yeah, I'm a little bit different. So some things, like I don't go, like I really don't like being around really young children, that age group, the toddlers and their dark skin. I just don't do well. I don't do well with crowds, really large crowds. I don't like it. the first time I left the compound.
Mm-hmm.
So I really didn't know anything about, I know how to drive a truck, but I know nothing about what it's like out there. Yeah. So we're driving in Bagram, and there's a kid coming to us. And I know the rules of engagement said we're not allowed to give them part of our candy that comes with the MREs. Mm-hmm. We're not allowed to do this and not allowed to do that. It didn't really make a lot of sense to me why. Well, this kid is approaching, and the guys have a lot more experience than I do. In Dory, say stop. And the kid's not stopping. And he's saying stop. Kid's not stopping. And he says about 5 times, and the kid keeps on coming closer and closer. Next thing I know, he kills him. And I'm just like, what the hell? Mm-hmm. What the fuck just happened? Well, it's him or us. He's a fucking kid. Right after he shot him, I heard boom. He had a wire. I did not see the wire because I was brand new, and I didn't even think of looking for a wire. It's like when somebody's pregnant, you know, you look for a baby, you don't look for a freaking wire. Yeah. A kid coming to you, you look to give them candy, you don't look for a wire. But he had been in country a long time. Actually, they were fixing to leave country. That was their last convoy. And it was my first convoy. And I was like, I was just shocked. I'm just thinking, he had to know. And they just said, yeah, he knew. But you see, he's going to a better place. He's going to Allah. I'm just like, how the hell? That kid was probably like 10 years old. How the fuck is he going to a better place? How are you going to a better place? That makes no sense at all. And to me, that's not even God deciding. That is humanity, man deciding another man's fate. Mm-hmm. That's not the same as, you know, you get in an accident and you die. That's not the same to me. There's a difference between that. Mm-hmm. You know, it's basically mankind being ugly to mankind. I don't.
That's not God doing His work.
Right. I don't understand how. I mean, you would have to kill me before you put a bomb on my child. Yeah. There's no way in hell. No, it just, you know, you try to have faith in humankind. Mm-hmm. And I do believe people are good overall. But then every once in a while you get jolt back to reality that it's not always so. It's not always so. I couldn't do the things I do every day of my life if I didn't believe that our God chooses. Mm-hmm. And that I have to accept that. So if I get involved with like a tornado or a hurricane and 26 people die, it's not because humans are necessarily doing it to themselves. Mm-hmm. It's God's will. I have to believe that. I have to, because if I don't believe that, then I couldn't do the things I do. It would be so overwhelming. Mm-hmm. And so I do have to believe it's His choice. Yeah. And it's not for me to figure out. It's not for me to try to reason. It's for me to accept and do the things I can do to help people and just keep on going. That's what it's all about. I have to believe that. I believe that with all my heart.
I am blown away. Like Miss Debbie, she really put a truthful impact in my heart, and I'm gonna try to not get emotional while saying this because her story was so true and heartfelt. So her speaking out on her behalf as a veteran, as a woman from the Jewish community, and hearing just her side of the story, she's speaking for so many people out there. And you have to realize hatred is real. Hatred is very, very real. And it's going to take yourself personally to make that change. Just like she said, all her words are very truthful. So thank y'all, and that's it. After watching this film, we hope you have learned more about your history and choose to become an ally to your neighbor in the future.